So boom, next segment, recent reflection. So today's episode, we are talking about how us downplaying our emotions or downplaying our traumatic experiences can sometimes invalidate our feelings, because certain stuff is not okay. And I feel like just with that mindset of, oh, it could have been worse, or I turned out fine, or I'll be okay, or that's just the world, or it is what it is, phrases like that kind of make things acceptable in today's world. And a lot of stuff is not acceptable. And we about to get deep, y'all. We about to get real deep. So take a seat, grab your journal, something, but let's go ahead and get into it. I personally believe that the conflict is better than you, in a sense, betraying yourself and dishonoring yourself to keep the peace in a relationship that one person already did not keep the peace in. What's up, y'all, and welcome back to the Right Number Podcast, where we talk about everything self-analyzing, reflecting, and correcting. I'm your host, Armani LaDale. I am a 23-year-old clinical mental health grad student. I am a mental health advocate, okay? I'm a follower of Christ. I am your accountability partner. With one thing we're going to do over here is we're going to hold each other accountable. I'm sorry. If that's not what you like, if you don't like to grow, if you don't like to hear about yourself, if you don't like to hear about other people, if you don't like to grow and inspire and endure growth, this may not be the podcast for you, just being real. But if you need somebody to relate to, if you need somebody to hold you accountable, if you need to hold me accountable, if you like to just listen to somebody or talk with somebody that enjoys just great dialogue and meaningful dialogue, that's for you. This podcast is for you. Okay, I feel like I'm more of like that introverted friend that loves deep conversations. I just saw a TikTok, and like when I tell you this girl read me to a T, listen, read me up and down, honey. I am an introvert. All I do is sit there and think about kitchen appliances. All I do is want to have deep conversations. But if we out and this music playing, be quiet, for real. Stop talking to me. Like, are you crazy? No, let me stop playing. But no, for real, y'all, the TikTok video I saw was like spot on to the T me. But anyways, what we like to do here first is mental health check. So if you can do so, drop your mental health check in the comment section if you are watching on YouTube. If you are just listening to the podcast, feel free to go to our Instagram page and comment your mental health check on the promo video for this page, or even DM the page, TRNpod. Just your mental health check. I would love to hear how you're doing. I would love to just pour into you, or even just uplift you, uplift you, give you some words of encouragement, celebrate with you if you're doing amazing. I love that all the time. So just continue being you, continue being great, and let me know how great or not so great you're doing. You feel me? Okay. So for mental health checks today, we're going to continue what we was doing last week with the self-love box cards. So again, there's 3 different levels for the self-care box or self-love box. It is level 1, which is your past, level 2, present, and then level 3 is your future. All right, so level 1, our past. Wow, you know what's crazy? I got the same card I got last time. We're not going to use that one. Let me put that to the side. Let's dig again. All right, past. When did you feel like you belonged? Ooh. Y'all, that's a good question. So, when did I feel like I belonged? Hmm. I'm not gonna lie, I still kind of feel like an outcast. Like, I still don't feel like, I would say for real, when I start finding people in Christ, like when I start finding people that love to grow, that like to be held accountable, that aren't just in that fixed mindset, and are in the, like, they have the same type of common sense as me. So I would say like maybe back my junior year of college, junior to senior year of college, I would say that like when I really started getting active in different organizations on campus, like psychology club, Divas mentoring and stuff like that, I started to really, really feel like, okay, these are my people. Okay, I like this. That was a good question, y'all. If you could think of the where you started to feel like you belonged, when was that for you? That's actually a very interesting question. I feel like I want to think about that a little more, because I feel like I'll have a better answer if I get to just sit down and think about it. Level 2, present. So it says, what are you spending more energy on than you have to give? What am I spending more energy on than I have to give? More of my energy, I would say, trying to be there for everybody. That's like one of my biggest things. I talk about that a lot on here. Just me being an empath and wanting just to be there for everybody, want to be everybody's hero. I feel like, while I don't feel like there's anything wrong with like being empathetic and listening to people's problems and providing them with solutions and helping them, I feel like a lot of times I find myself interjecting myself into other people's life to fix their life, and then it'd be like, I told you what to do, you didn't listen. Did I be putting more energy in it to retell people? You get what I'm saying? Like, I be just trying to be too much in people's lives sometimes, I can say. I always try to be the problem solution. I always try to find the solution in everybody else's problems, even if they don't even come to me as if it is a problem. I like psychoanalyze everybody, and I don't need to do that all the time. I can definitely say that. All right, now we are in our future level 3, which says, what do you need more time for? That is so crazy how these just went together like that. What do I need more time for? I would say right now, I would want more time to save. I feel like I move around a lot. Like, I travel a lot. I go to Atlanta to see my boyfriend a lot, which, don't get me wrong, I let her do that. But like, I move around a lot, and I feel like if I were to just sit down and save and just spend time in the crib and not try to do too much and save up, I could have a lot more wiggle room, even upgrading the podcast in a sense, upgrading my home, finish furnishing my home and stuff like that. So I feel like I definitely need more time to save and pay my credit card bills, y'all, because that credit card bill ain't no joke. Oh Lord. Ooh. But yes, that was our mental health check today. So we did a self-love box. Boop, 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 boop. Again, I'm going to drop the questions in the description box so you can answer those questions as well. Do a little journal prompt, do a little journal entry with the questions if you don't feel comfortable dropping those answers in the comment sections. I completely understand. Y'all don't know me like that. It's okay. Watch a few more episodes. You'll get to know. But so boom, next segment, recent reflection. So today's episode, we are talking about how us downplaying our emotions or downplaying our traumatic experiences can sometimes invalidate our feelings. And we about to get deep, y'all. We about to get real deep. So take a seat, take a sit back, maybe grab your journal, something, but let's go ahead and get into it. And when I say us downplaying our traumatic experiences, I mean like when we find ourselves going, oh no, it wasn't that serious, or I turned out okay. Or like, ladies, for me personally, it'd be like if I'm like, say I'm dealing with a guy or something happened, and just be like, man, guys are weird. And it'd be like, no, he's a predator. No, he's not just weird. You need to stay clear of him and warn everybody else about that person. Or like, that didn't affect me, how it affect other people, stuff like that. And something else that I find myself doing a lot, or that I would say I used to do a lot, is gossiping about it, or like talking mess about it. Like, oh girl, why this happened, this and the third happened, girl, they must not know who I am. Brush it off my shoulder. These people are crazy these days. The bar is so low. While yes, the bar is very low, it's also quite serious and something that we shouldn't just brush off our shoulder. And I feel like a lot of times, like a lot of stuff that we go through, we tend to like brush it off of our shoulder and like charge it to game or something. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, oh, we're just gonna charge it to the game, charge it to the game, charge it to the game. And it's like, no, let's not charge it to the game. Let's call it out. Let's call it a spade a spade. Let's be real. Let's set them boundaries again, because certain stuff is not okay. And I feel like just with that mindset of, oh, it could have been worse, or I turned out fine, or I'll be okay, or that's just the world, or it is what it is. Phrases like that kind of make things acceptable in today's world, and a lot of stuff is not acceptable. And I just realized, honestly, a few days ago, somebody from my past had just texted me, hey, or something like that, just, and it kind of brought up a lot of feelings from that time of my life. And it was just like, why did this person got the nerve to text me? They did this, and the third. He's a freaking crazy. He's crazy. He's da 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 da. And it was just like, well, you never said nothing. You just brushed it off your shoulder, or you just charged it to the game, or you just played your role. And it's like, we live in this society where everybody just wants to play their role instead of addressing issues. And yes, sometimes that conflict may come. I personally believe that the conflict is better than you, in a sense, betraying yourself and dishonoring yourself to keep the peace in a relationship that one person already did not keep the peace in. And what's so crazy is, I saw a post a while ago and the girl was like, just ladies, be careful. Like, when guys make you uncomfortable, a lot of times we like to laugh stuff off. Don't laugh it off. Make it as awkward as he made it, because a lot of times with women, we like to say, oh, we didn't want to make it weird. We didn't want to make it awkward by saying something, or we didn't want to make it weird by addressing something. But it was weird the second he did what he did, or she did what she did. It does not matter. Like, it was weird initially when you started feeling uncomfortable. And I feel like a lot of times we do not acknowledge that. And I can even say from my own experiences, like, so yes, when we downplay our traumatic experiences, in a sense, I feel like we minimize or we even dismiss what is actually going on, or the impact that it had in our lives. And we do this so frequently that we don't even realize that something has impacted us so much until we go get help and do all those things. And we end up, in a sense, convincing ourselves that it wasn't that bad, or this was okay, or I was just tripping, or something like that. We rationalize every experience that we go through, because it's like, well, it could have been worse. And it's like, no, this was still something to speak up about. And when we unrationalize our feelings, we, in a sense, disconnect from our emotions. We, in a sense, step out of ourselves and become somebody else, and not even recognize the damage that it is doing to your person, to you. And when we do this, I feel like sometimes we deny the impact that it has on us. For example, like, if somebody was neglected as a child, they'll grow up and be like, well, I turned out fine. Even like the whooping stuff. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a fan of whooping kids. Like, y'all can come for me all y'all want to, but now I understand discipline is needed. But when it becomes excessive to where it's like we're just beating children, and, oh, well, I turned out fine and I got whoopings all the time, it'd be like, yo, can we address the actual issue? Why was a grown person putting their hands on you for being a child, for messing up as a child? Because that's what children do. Now, we understand when we get a little older, we become deceitful and all those things. There's ways to deal with that personally. And I don't feel like putting your hands on somebody is that way. So that's just an example. Don't get me, like, don't come for me. Y'all come for me, I don't care. But that's just an example, right? In a sense, we can also try to compare our experiences to other people. So say, oh, well, for example, I keep relating to childhood, because a lot of people face things in their childhood that they don't realize affects them today, right? So say, as a child, you may not have heard, I love you, or you can do this, or you could be anything you want to be as a child. But because somebody else got beat on every day, because somebody else got told you are never going to be anything, you're not worth it, I should have aborted you, whatever, like, just in an instance, right? Because you're comparing your experience to somebody else, you are not understanding the impact that you not being told that somebody loves you, somebody cares for you, that somebody believes that you can do whatever you put your mind to. You not hearing that impacted you as well. And I feel like we often look at other people to take the weight off of us, to make it feel like, oh, I'm not going through, like, I'm not going through nothing horribly, like, it could be much worse, which is true. It could be much worse. Let's be grateful that it ain't that. But can we still be present in what is going on? Can we still feel what we feel? And I feel like a lot of times we don't speak on those emotions, or we minimize those emotions that we feel based on what we've experienced, because it may not be as bad as the other person. But when we sit and take time to actually acknowledge, like, yo, this does make me feel a way that my mama never told me that she loved me. This made me feel a way that my daddy never was there. This makes me feel a way that my brothers and sisters excluded me out of everything. It makes me feel a way. So we can address those feelings, and so we can move on, because you never know, like, that little seed that was planted inside as a child, that was maybe neglect, maybe abandonment, maybe abuse, whatever, that little seed is the seed to sprout your relationship issues, your friendship issues, your authority problems, your procrastination. Like that little bitty thing can sprout into all the chaos that's going on in your life right now, right? For me, a lot of times, just recently, not too recently, but like a few months ago, maybe half a year ago, I would like to hit my emotions with logic. And a lot of times I would stop myself from being sad because it'd be like, well, that was gonna happen anyway, or you knew it was coming, or this is okay, like, you gonna move on, you live and you learn. And especially with like being in Christ, it'd be like, well, God got better for me anyway. It'd be like, yes, God has better for you anyway, but how do you feel right now, right? And address what you're feeling right now. And I think in the last podcast I mentioned, like, okay, I know God has what God wants for me, I want for me too, but that is not going to take away the fact that if he make my man leave me or make me leave my man, I'm going to be heartbroken. And I feel like that's something that I've grown so much. And I'm just so appreciative that God has graced me enough to grow in that area, because it was times where I wouldn't even acknowledge the fact that I was sad. And it was actually a time a few weeks ago, maybe like a week or two ago, where I what was it? I had brought up something to my parents that happened to me when I was a child. And I thought I was good. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, I got that off. My boyfriend had checked on me and was just asking me, like, are you okay? I know a lot of emotions were brought up. How do you feel? Which I love him for that. Ooh. But I was like, no, I'm good. Like, I thought I was gonna cry, but I didn't. We take it a W. You get what I'm saying? So that was the same day I was supposed to record the podcast that I uploaded last week. And um I wasn't even able to talk. Like, I was recording, but the words wouldn't come out. And I was like praying. I'm like, God, why do I feel so numb, like dull? And he had told me, he was like, maybe you're sad. And I said it out loud, like, maybe I'm sad. And then my lip quivered, and I was like, what I'm sad for? Like, what I'm being sad for? And I'm like, what I like, that happened years ago, but then it's like, because it was a sad moment in your life, and you realize that it was a bad moment in your life that you never addressed, maybe, like, like, that's okay. And a lot of times we distract ourselves. Like, immediately after I went and made a TikTok video about it, I never posted it, but I was like, me just sitting here talking about it is me not even feeling it. It's a distraction from me feeling what I'm feeling. And another distraction, or I would say another thing that kind of hinders us from feeling what we're feeling, is like shame or guilt. I don't know if, I don't think I really struggle with shame or guilt all the way, but I know a lot of time for men, they just because of how society used to be, I know society is evolving, and I absolutely love that for our men. But just like the whole be a man's kind of phrase, like, don't feel that, you shouldn't be crying about that, get over it, brush it off, move past it, you got to provide, you don't got time to worry, you don't got time to cry. And it's just like, no, baby, come here. Come here, you got time to cry, you have time. And you get what I'm saying? Like, so I just feel like that is also a big thing that kind of stops us from feeling our feelings, feeling like shameful or feeling guilt that maybe we should not be feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? And not really understanding the emotion, right? And just really quick to double back down on the comparison thing, because we know that comparison is a thief of joy, right? But I also wholeheartedly believe that comparison can also be a blinder of reality, right? So when I was sexually assaulted, it wasn't like what you would see on TV. It was like to a point where it was like, okay, eventually he stopped after I said stop so many times. And it took my boyfriend now actually talking with me, and I just thank God for using him as a vessel to help me understand that Shawty, he should have stopped when you said no the first time. And for the longest, I used to just downplay my assault because it was like, well, he did eventually stop. And even like when it was like time to file a report, I was like, I don't really want to. I feel like he did stop. Like, maybe he didn't know and all this other stuff. And I didn't want to feel my feelings. I was too busy thinking about him. And even around that time, like the doctors I was talking to, all of that, they was like, well, you look fine. That was just a whole horrible thing. But like, because I didn't look like what they were telling me that a lot of victims look like, I then started to downplay my experience when in reality, my experience was horrifying. My experience was very, very degrading. And for a very, very long time, I just used to hold so much hate in my heart, and I never realized it's because I know what you did to me, but I'm covering it up instead of feeling what was done to me, because I let the doctors, the nurses, the people tell me, oh, well, this don't look like what it normally looks like. And it's like we allow other people's perception and comparison, and we take that on as our own. And I don't know if everybody else may not do that, but for me, that is what I allowed to happen in that situation. Now, some other situations I know, nah, that made me feel away. You can't downplay it. You get what I'm saying? I know what it was, but for a long time, I did not have like a strong, like I was not strong in that. And I really admire people who are like very, very strong in just their boundaries, for one, strong in their emotions, for two, because no, you made me feel away, or no, this made me feel away, or no, that don't sit right with me. And I really applaud that, and that's something that I'm just so grateful to have learned now, because excuse me, when I look back at things, I be like, dang, like my baby, my little 16-year-old self, my 17, 18, 19-year-old self, girl, like I wish you were standing strong. But all those things helped me to be the woman that I am today, to know this is nothing about what I want to have going on in my life right now. And I know I have to stand strong and be okay with my feelings, and not be trying to hide my feelings, and not be trying to not cause conflict because of my feelings. No, we have to really understand them. Now, don't let your feelings control you, but understand them. I feel like we don't have an understanding of what we feel. We don't have the words to put in what we feel. We automatically think bad feelings means I'm mad or angry, and feelings that make me cry means I'm sad. But sometimes it can be disappointment. Sometimes it can be envy. Sometimes it can be jealousy. Sometimes it can just simply be loneliness. Sometimes these feelings that we have, we don't know the words for it, so we just put it in that small category of anger or sadness or happiness. But it's so many other categories that we have, so many other feelings that we can feel, but we just simply put them in those three categories. And that's why we don't address them, I feel like, because we're like, oh, what you mad for? Are you mad? We're like, no, you actually disappointed. You hoped better for this situation, and it didn't happen how you thought it was going to happen. You're not mad, you're just disappointed. So that's something else. Now, I feel like if we continue to unrationalize our feelings, we begin to become emotionally disconnected from ourselves. And we're living in like this state of numbness. And trust me, baby, you do not want to live on autopilot. That is something that's probably, I was on autopilot for maybe half a year, and that was probably the worst time of my life. I did a lot of questionable things during that time, and it was the worst time of my life. I had the most panic attacks, anxiety attacks, all of that. And it's something that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Honestly, the devil's my only enemy. But now, this also can delay our healing, because since we're not acknowledging our feelings, we're not in tune with ourselves, we're delaying the process of actually healing. We're delaying the process of going to get help. Please go get professional help. Y'all know I'm an advocate. Please go get professional help. Talk about these emotions. Try to figure out what the emotions are. If you are always irritable, go talk to somebody and figure out why. If you are always sleepy, go talk to somebody and figure out why. It is not something wrong with you because you decide to go get some help. You decide to figure out what's up with you. You want to be a better version of yourself. We always trying to be better girlfriends, better boyfriends, better friends, better co-workers, better employees, better dancers, better all these things. But what about you? Who are you for you? Like, who are you for you? That's what therapy is for. Go to therapy, please. I feel like once we acknowledge the trauma, once we acknowledge the uncomfortability we've experienced, we're able to actually validate and speak good about ourselves and speak goodness and kindness to ourselves. We give ourselves permission to feel these feelings which allows us to comfort ourselves, which allows God to come in and comfort you. When you are feeling these feelings, I think a lot of times we get confused with allowing other people to come comfort us in time where it should just be you and God. Stop letting people come and then that becomes your idol. Stop letting people come in while you're feeling these things and now you're looking at them or looking for them at every time a tear falls from your eye, or every time your skin starts to itch, or every time your blood starts to boil. Learn how to be that for yourself. Seek support in God and maybe your therapist. And having a good support system is good as well, but you want to practice self-compassion. Practice talking good to yourself. Practice spending some time with yourself and really addressing those emotions. And having some supportive friends around you is definitely a blessing. And I really encourage having friends that know some. And if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Like, let's not not the friends that be, oh no girl, forget about that, don't worry about that, let's go to the club, let's drink it off, let's smoke it off, let's da 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 da. Listen to me. Those are only going to mask it. The feelings are going to come back. If you address this stuff head on, I promise you, you are not going to be sitting in that sadness as long as you will if you go drink it away, if you go smoke it away, because you're going to have to keep drinking it and smoking it. You're going to have to keep doing that. But if you sit there and address it head on, if you give it to God and let him come take that off of you, it will be off of you. You would not have to run back. You would not need another void filler. You would not need any of that. So I strongly encourage you to just stay in tune with your feelings. Ask yourself why. I'm irritated right now. Why? But why? But why? But why? Why does this person leaving before they said they was going to leave bother me? Why does the person not being on time bother me so much? Why do, like, you get what I'm saying? Ask yourself why. When you figure out why you figured out it all, you always mad, figure out why. You never happy, figure out why. You always happy, figure out why. Like, just know yourself, understand who you are. And that's what this podcast is really, really for. It's for us to be aware of who we actually are, not just who we play every single day. Not just when you go to a professional event, you professional, but then when you go to the club, you a hood rat. Then when you go home, you quiet, you shy. Then when you come to school, you the smartest person in school. Who are you? Ask yourself, who am I and why am I her? And is she who I want to be? And why? Just keep asking yourself why, who are you, and what are your interests? What is your peace? Who is your, like, ask yourself these things. I really, really strongly encourage you to ask yourself these things. When we confront what we feel and not downplay it in a sense, we are able to face our emotions head on, build better relationships with people, and just have a better sense of self. Okay, stop downplaying stuff. Please stop downplaying stuff. What people do is wrong. Stop avoiding conflict. It's a difference between a peacemaker and a peacekeeper. And I had to learn this myself. It is a huge difference. I did a whole Bible plan on that. I will link the Bible plan that me and my boyfriend did about keeping the peace and making the peace, because I'm telling you, that was a life changer. But nevertheless, we're going to go into this biblical backup. And I actually have a lot of scriptures for y'all today. I have about 4. So first one we're going to go to is Psalms 56 verse 8, which says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in a bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." The next verse we're going to is Psalms 126 verse 5. "Those who plant in tears will harvest with shouts of joy." That one literally was one of my favorites. Like, that's one of my favorites. But we're gonna keep going. I'm gonna give you all of them, and then we're gonna talk about them. All right. The next one is 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7. "Give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you." All right. And then the last one, last but not least, is 2 Corinthians chapter 1 verses 3 through 4, where it says, "All praise to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. God is our merciful Father and the source of all comfort. He comforts us in all our troubles so that we can comfort others. When they are troubled, we will be able to give them the same comfort God has given us." Oh, Jesus, I just want to shout. listen to me. If those scriptures, I really pray that those scriptures have touched you in some type of way, okay? Those scriptures all show that it is okay to feel, because God is going to comfort you. Your tears will turn into joy. When I read that, it was like, okay, I'm about to keep crying and keep crying and keep crying. If all I got to do is cry to get some joy in return, God wants you to be vulnerable. All of this stuff in the world is telling us not to be vulnerable, hide ourselves, have a cold heart. All of these, those are nothing but tricks of the enemy. Those are nothing but lies. God is calling you to be emotional. God is calling you to feel your feelings and address what's going on, because He is your comfort. God is your source of all comfort. In the same way God comforts us, we are called to do the same thing to others. So when you see one of your brothers or your sisters, your cousins, your mama, your uncle, your auntie, whoever, you see one of them struggling, be that same comfort that God was to you. And I feel that so strongly, and I just feel that so deep in my heart, because God has comforted me in so many ways, and I have no choice. Like, I don't even realize that I'm doing it, but I choose. And I honestly, it's like a reflex almost to comfort people in that same way. I learned from the Most High. I learned from the biggest. You hear me? And that's what I do. I comfort, and I just thank God for the people that He has put in my life that comforts me in the same way that He has comforted them. And we all should have people around us that gives us that godly comfort, that provides us that comfort. But we also need to realize it's not only them, but it's also God. God is using them because God is with them. So I feel like if you are around people that may not have God in their life, it may be hard for you to get that comfort from them, because they don't even know what that feels like from God. And it's important for us to call on Him so we can experience that comfort for ourselves, so we can know when God is working in somebody else on our behalf. But yes, I absolutely, oh my gosh, I absolutely love God. We weren't even talking about God for real, but like, I absolutely love God, and I absolutely love y'all, okay? Feel your emotions, call stuff out, feel what you feel. And I feel like I know that's so like a cliche term, a cliche phrase, feel your feelings, but it is so important that we understand what we feel in that moment so that we can address it and we can move forward. But don't ever try and move forward before you feel, because that is going to cause a lot of damage moving on and you won't even realize it. And a lot of times we can either be ignorant to the fact or just be too prideful to admit that something has hurt us, or that something, you know what, this situation ain't got nothing to do. My attitude ain't got nothing to do with this situation, actually. It got something to do with something completely different. And a lot of times we need somebody to tell us that. So let's speak up. Let's be real. Let's be accountable. And let's grow. I love y'all so much. If anybody told you today, I did. You can be anything. You can do anything you put your mind to. I love you and I believe in you.